Yo, welcome everyone to Weird Growth, the podcast where we hear about the strange and often unpredictable journey that founders take. The conversation doesn't stop here. If you want to stay one step ahead and unlock exclusive access to insights, thought-provoking summaries of our latest episodes, and a curated collection of valuable resources from across the web, don't miss out on Ammo Marketing newsletter. Please subscribe to our newsletter by the link in the description. This episode, very exciting. We have Tori and Cal, the co-founders of Joey Books. Read-along app for kids aged 2 to 8 that makes early literacy magical through narrated stories, word highlighting, and a safe ad-free space. It's an inspiring idea for any parent or educator, and today we're going to dig into how it came to be and where it's headed. Cal, Tori, thank you so much for being on Weird Growth.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks for having us.
Magic to have you guys here. Can you please just introduce yourselves to get started and explain to people how you came to do what you do?
Great. Well, I'm Tori, and I'm most importantly a mother of 4 wonderful, lively children. And it was in part due to this and the fact that I'm also a teacher, an educator. I came up with the idea during COVID, actually, to create something that replicated a parent reading to a child. And this has turned into Joey Books. So really, Callum then jumped on board.
Yeah, well, I had the idea from Tori over dinner because we're siblings, we're having a family lunch or family dinner, and she sort of proposed this idea. I really am getting asked by all these parents, what can they put their kids on during COVID? Well, how can they sort of engage their kids in education and keep them up to date? And she's, as a tutor, was like, you can read to them. And sort of that inspired me because I love books, love reading.
Yep.
And she had a few ideas that we can do X, Y, Z, and that culminated in Joey. So I'm a tech guy. I write software, so I was like, I can build it with you. We can work on this together. And it was sort of started off as a little pet project where like, is this feasible? Is this something we can do as a 2-man team? Can we get rights to books was the big initial question. Are publishers willing to work with a sort of small startup? And the answer was yes, and then ran from there.
Incredible.
Yeah, we've been really lucky. Our first deal was with the most wonderful publishing house called Fremantle Press. They're local, based in Fremantle, and they have believed in Joey since the beginning. And the wonderful thing is they're growing as we're growing, even though they've been around a long time. So we've recently done another deal with them, and based on user feedback, we're developing a really great non-fiction section of books. And Fremantle Press, I was just telling you before, Cam, have a brilliant section on historical novels, are slightly longer but with lots of images in them. So we're really excited to teach kids Australian history through books and, just to celebrate our rich history, which a lot of kids don't know much about. And there's so much interesting history, First World War, Second World War, what other stories we've got? Rottnest Island during the war. There's some fantastic books coming on.
Wildlife and animals.
No, congratulations on what you've done firstly, building Joey Books. It is a beautiful app. I've got 2 little girls, as you know, and they love Joey Books. It's the content that you have there, as you say, those deals with when you say deals with publishers, you mean basically permission to use their IP and their books in your app. And it's a beautiful recreation of the colourful, children's book illustrations. And then you have them narrated by locals as well, don't you? Or by really great voice artists, yeah? Yeah,
we've been really lucky. We have some of the best actors across Australia that have narrated the books, along with some of the authors and illustrators have also narrated the books. So we've been really fortunate. Yeah.
I think, one of the nicest things about it is there's books that the kids recognise as well. There's the Alison Lesters and there's some Enid Blyton books on there. And it's very close to the real sort of experience. In fact, it's better in a lot of ways than the real experience of reading the book. And I think that just adds this whole sort of another level of professionalism to the whole feel of it's not just books that no one's really heard of before or, ones that have been written by someone, by yourselves or anything. It's actually really genuinely great content. And the way that it's presented is just gorgeous. So congratulations on that, guys. Just a quick one before we get into maybe some of the nuts and bolts of how you've got to this stage. A quick little pop quiz, which is if you could start from scratch on a completely different product today, and maybe it's helping kids or another children's product outside of Joey Books, what else would you also love to see in the world?
Oh, I think about this all the time, don't you, Cal?
Yeah.
Well, I think with the way the world's going with AI, you just think, well, what are going to be the opportunities that are presenting themselves? And I think anything that brings people together.
Yeah, right.
And around physical activity. So I think about things like starting a kids' run club, for example, in the mornings would be a great thing to do, where you get kids doing hill sprints, because it's just so good for the brain, and all the research is showing that. So I have lots of random ideas like that. How about you, Cal?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. As a tech guy, the sort of revolutionary wave of AI that's coming through is so exciting. There's so many different opportunities, so many different ideas that are being implemented by different people. You're like, oh, I really should have been on that. That's a great idea. It's so logical. It makes sense. Yeah. I love being in education, though. I think education, especially with kids, is such an exciting space. So really probably something else in education in this sort of new wave of sort of how can we drive individual learning with sort of technology and compiling them, because there's been so many mistakes made in the past around this, and sort of how can we get the best knowledge and sort of ask different people and work together. I think there's so many opportunities, so it would definitely be somewhere there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Cal. I think the reality is we are loving Joey Books. We see this as a lifelong project that will just keep evolving as we grow and we learn. But education is such an exciting space. People at the moment, I'm not sure if you've noticed, there's a big pushback against tech in education. And I think that's because it's been done so badly up until this point. But now with AI, we can really change the game of learning and really individualise learning and give kids what they actually need and meet them where they're at. And technology hasn't been able to do that today. So I think that's why there's pushback, because there hasn't been benefit to children. But we know that that can change from now on. And there's so much happening in America in this space that we're kind of keeping tabs on what's going on over there, with really high academic outcomes. So just limitless potential, we think, in this area.
Super exciting. Yeah, and I guess the traditional education system is designed to meet the lowest common denominator, or at least be a reasonably consistent, flat kind of process which people go through, as opposed to meeting people, students where they're at, or, what their interests are, and really getting the best out of each individual. So this is the opportunity, this tech is the opportunity to tailor people's experiences and educational kind of content to them, right?
100%. Yeah. You look at a year one class, and I know you've got a daughter in year one, and so do I. You've got 24 students in that average class, and they're at 24 different levels.
Yeah.
Some of them are at a kindy level, some of them might be at a year 3 or 4 level. And how, as one teacher, do you teach to all those diverse needs and requirements? It's almost impossible. It is impossible. And we know, based on all the data, that we're letting kids down. 8 of those 24 kids are not meeting the national benchmarks in literacy right now, based on the results from last year's NAPLAN. So, 16 kids are, and 8 kids aren't in the average classroom.
Can you take us to the moment, or the time when you first thought, hang on, Joey Books, this could be more than just an idea. This could be something that we create in the real world. What was that sort of realisation like?
Oh, when we built it, when Callum built it.
Yeah?
And then we tested it on my kids.
I think that was a big moment. I initially started, there's a sort of library of books called Gutenberg Library online that has all the sort of public domain books, and that's sort of what I started off. And there's also like LibriVox Library that is like open source narration of these books. So I was just like, as the start of this project, let's combine these two sort of free versions that we can sort of play with, sort of a narration. Can we get the words tracking? Can we use these books in a nice, engaging way for a kid that is easy to use, and someone who is as young as your kids at that stage, which would have been 5 years old, really. And would they engage and understand what's going on and be like, I love reading these books, and I feel to that sense of discovery and creativity that these stories have.
What would you say, from a more technical point of view, is the real kind of killer feature that Joey Books does better than anybody else?
I think technically it is along the lines of the simplicity of the app. So there's not like, you go in, you see the books and you can engage with it. This is a design for a kid who is young. So they're learning to read is sort of the goal, and teaching them from not being able to read to read. So you sort of had to keep things very simple, easy to use, so a parent can hand it off and feel comfortable that they aren't going to get lost and require the parent to come sit with them and then sort of read the book with them, because at that point you may as well read a book. So keeping it as simple as possible has been quite a challenge. And we're sort of building new features now that I'm really excited about, and sort of lead more into this individualised learning that we haven't released yet. So that's what I'm really excited about, and hopefully we get there and it works really well, but keeping that core concept of you can give it to a kid and not worry about them being like, I'm lost, let's go over to YouTube and just watch YouTube.
I'm glad you raised YouTube, because that's probably one of the guilty feelings that parents sometimes might have with parking their kid in front of a device, is that they are just putting them in front of Coco Lemon or whatever it's called.
Coco Melon. We have views on that. Big views.
So how do you pitch Joey books to parents who might feel that they don't, that just another app that they want to park in front of their kids?
Well, the idea behind Joey was to have it as low tech as possible. So it really does replicate an adult or a teacher reading to a child. That's the goal of it. So it's as low tech as you could possibly get, and it's so simple to use.
It is,
and that's Callum's a master, and he's done a really good job. And it's quite incredible that the two of us have built something that's competing against these huge companies all out of America, really.
I think it's also the idea that, like, my goal is the sense of discovery. That's what kids need at this age. They need a sort of, they're not being challenged and saying, I think it's like converting the idea of, like, a lot of these sort of YouTube videos target sort of the dopamine reactors and trying to get people to be stimulated and constantly engaged and constantly watching, and converting that to more into a long-term, like, enjoyment of a great book, a great series that they can take on later in life that really rewards, like, down the track.
We want to create the best possible library of books for kids within our target market. So they are the best books from all around the world, fiction and non-fiction, that you might not be able to afford to have in your home library, or they might not even be available at your local library to borrow. And we eventually, over time, want to have this library built with Joey so that every parent can access those books in their home for their children.
Yeah, and it's staying away from these, like, quick, easy wins. I think we're trying to avoid, like, the cheap laughs or the gaggy type books at the moment. Not saying down the track a great one might come along, but for now it's like those quality sort of either classics or new and upcoming books that we think, hey, this has got something that we think everyone should enjoy and sort of appreciate.
Yeah, I'd definitely say from personal experience there is a wholesomeness to the library of books and the way that you've designed the app as well. And I guess evidence of that is, like, my girls will happily sit there and read one or two books, and then they don't feel the need to continue. They've sort of fulfilled
you don't get
that
tantrums.
box. Yeah, no, they've done their reading, and now they're okay. We're going to go and do a physical activity now or something else. They don't feel the need to continue and get stuck to the screen, which is a testament to the design of the thing. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah,
and you don't want kids in that sense of, like, sort of hyper active awareness while they're sitting down watching something. And I think that usually is what leads to the tantrums afterwards.
I mean, you probably know this, but Cal and I have talked a lot about when they are preparing those Coco Melon programs, they test with kids, and when they look away, they go, they're looking away. We need to make this more stimulating.
Yeah. Wow.
So the whole point of these programs is to make kids addicted. And not let them...
Yeah, they're playing off that survival instinct of, like, constant stress and, well, not stress, but, like, constant awareness and sort of hypervigilance.
Yeah, well, that's how they make money through the YouTube platform.
Yeah, exactly.
By selling ads.
And it's a free market, and it's not as controlled, really, as what we want to create with our library of books.
How did you get this initially into the hands of parents beyond your sort of, your family and your initial circle?
Well, we're quite lucky because I've been running Expand Education, which is a one-on-one learning program for the last decade. So with that, we have a huge network already to test with kids that are doing the program, but also with kids that have also formerly been part of the program. So that was one way. Right. And, just distributing word of mouth, really, has been how people have got hold of it.
Yeah, it's funny when you make a great product, it takes a lot of a life of its own sometimes.
It's really just word of mouth. Because social media, we haven't had the time to invest in social media. And we're also, particularly Callum is a perfectionist. So we're like, this is our MVP, which is the minimum viable product. We are soon to release what will be constantly evolving, but a product that we're really excited about because it's going to have the library, then it's going to have an opt-in learning section, which you work through levels that are also using our books.
It's more of a guide and reading experience that sort of adds in a bit of challenge and a bit of sort of like that sort of learning aspect that I think would be really good.
How have you built in that user feedback into your development process, and how have you made sure that you are getting quality feedback from your users so that you can continue building a better product?
It's very hard because people only give you positive feedback. Yeah. It's been really, really hard. So hard that we actually have just had to call people and call people that might have downloaded the app but didn't pay to subscribe, because that's where you get the best feedback.
It is.
So these are the sort of things that we've had to do, because unfortunately people are like, yeah, it's nice, it's good, we like it. But that's not what we want.
No.
We want to know, when did you get stuck? Did it crash? What were the problems you had? Which books would you like to see?
Yeah,
what sort of features?
Where do you want to use it? Yeah,
exactly. When do you use it? Where do you use it?
Yeah, and it's hard as like in the end of the day, we're a two-man team, and going out and talking to these people is like almost a full-time job. So it's setting aside that time to be like, okay, this is when we're talking to users, proactively realizing, hey, there's a lot of assumptions that we're making about use cases and how we're engaging with it, but this might not be how our users end up engaging with it. They might view this in an entirely different light. So getting that understanding.
We're just learning. Every day we're
like a lot to
learning so much.
Yep. Funny that the faster you can learn, the faster you'll be able to build that into your product. And, that product velocity is, what they talk a lot about in this space is just so important. And well done for being proactive and not just soaking up all the great feedback, because I guess, 10 bits of good feedback are probably as valuable as one bit of constructive feedback, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really give you anything, positive feedback.
Yeah, and you can't act on it in the same sort of way that you can on constructive feedback.
Tori, what's the process been like with reaching out to publishers? You mentioned Fremantle Press initially, but how difficult is that to actually convince these publishers, some of them are quite big, that, you're legitimate and that, you're going to do their product justice?
Well, at first it was really hard because we didn't have a product. Right. So I had to kind of sell the dream of what Joey Books was going to be. But now it's very easy, to be honest. The hardest thing is just finding the right person to do the deal within a publishing house. And I was just saying to Cal, because I did 3 deals over the weekend actually, and I was saying to Callum, they were so good. They're such gorgeous people, because they're small publishing houses with really high quality books. And when you're dealing with a small publishing house, it's very quick, it's seamless, it's efficient. But the bigger the publishing house, the harder it is to do the deal, because you've got to find that right person in the right country that has the global right.
It's also the fact, like, we're in a different situation than the usual person reaching out to our publisher. A lot of the time it's someone reaching out saying, hey, I got this great idea for a book. I want to sell you the dream on this book, and eventually get paid for it. So it's a sort of a transactional relationship where you're a seller rather than a buyer. Whereas we're on the buying side, like, hey, we want to give you money for the rights to these books. This is how we're going to represent it. Hopefully this is in a way that aligns with what you want. And there is barriers to sort of protect and insulate these publishers from a lot of this sort of transactional stuff, because that's not what they're there for. They're there for great books and sort of doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've also got to be careful that their books are protected, so that you can't access those books and download them, because that's, their
copyright.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, we have to be very understanding for publishers, because it is a different risk aspect for them. Because a physical book, obviously, you can go on the YouTube and watch someone read this physical book, but it's different than sort of having the images and be able to create the book yourself. So there is a different risk aspect that the publishers have to accept for a digital book compared to a physical book.
Are you hearing anything from these publishers about how they're thinking about AI and having their content built into models and then used to generate other content? Is that much of a discussion?
Well, we're not talking to them about this. However, I follow a lot of people in the publishing industry on LinkedIn and social media, and get emails every week about these topics.
Yeah.
And everyone's very scared, obviously.
I think the main thing we've interacted with was sort of some of our voice talent, being like, we obviously do not train models on our voices. This is our product. This is our livelihood.
For sure.
And keep this away from any voice model. Obviously, we're a small company. We're not looking to train AI models on our content.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
And obviously, these sort of bigger sort of companies that are scraping the web and grabbing that sort of stuff, but insulating those materials from them, they have to log in, authenticate, sort of get the tokens in some sort of way to access our audio library as well as the images, to keep it away from them in that way, as well as just telling them no. But I think there's obviously ways around to saying no.
Something I'm personally curious about is the voice talent that you have. Read the stories are so good and they're so engaging, especially when there's some kids who do some of the stories too, and it just feels very authentic. How do you have to coach them to read it in a certain tone, and how many takes does it usually take?
Oh, yeah. Some of the kids that we got to record the wonderful books from Alison Lester, which everyone knows and loves, I had to do them first. So I had to do all the crazy voices, and then they sort of had a go, because without that, they read them a little bit flat.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah.
I think some of the difficulties around, like, there's a cadence to some books that sort of maybe are rhyming or like there's certain expressions that they might have missed, is sort of what we're getting at is, and that's really where the books come alive. And that's like, in the end of the day, our goal is to replicate like a parent reading to a kid. Yep. And if you're a parent sitting down with a kid and you know the book, you've read the book 10 times, how are you going to read this book in such a way that the kid enjoys it for the 10th time, and replicating that?
And for the longer books, like the Faraway Tree series, where there's 10 books and they're all just under an hour long each, Caroline McKenzie, who is a talented West Australian actress, and everyone's probably seen her on TV or at the Heath Ledger Theatre, she's just brilliant. And she practiced a lot. She had all the voices down, and, yeah, we didn't really have to help her at all. She was absolutely magic.
And then some of the authors are obviously, it's like a lot of the time, the best people to read their own book.
They wrote it.
They've written it, but they've also read it so much and they understand how they imagine the characters' voices. Yeah. So that's probably the ones I love the most.
James Foley, who read Stellafant, is so good. Yeah. He's a WA author and he's written so many fantastic
is he from WA
books.
too?
Oh, yeah, he's amazing. We've got more of his books coming on soon, actually. Cool. And we were saying we need to get him in to record books that aren't even his, because he's so talented.
Yeah. Who would you say is the ideal sort of parent or sort of kid for what you're targeting Joey books at?
Well, the ideal child, I think, is the struggling reader that might not have the confidence to read by themselves, but Joey can let them have a go at reading by themselves and then they can listen back afterwards. So I think the struggling readers probably who it's targeted at.
Struggling readers, like there's a lot of struggling readers who love books. I think that's what we've seen the most. They engage with it.
Yeah, highly intelligent children who want to read but can't yet read.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's that sense of discovery. They enjoy that.
So my kids would fit that. You would have been that child.
Yeah, definitely. I used to go to sleep listening to the Harry Potter books non-stop. Like I'm sure a lot of other people, Stephen Fry's voice put me to bed very, very easily. So, yeah, I would have loved this. I do remember imagining the idea of books following along and actually being able to see the text as you read. So, it's really exciting to make that come to life.
And that tracking of the words highlights the words as they're being said by the narrator. That seems to me like a technically tricky thing. It's actually very seamless when you're watching it on the screen. Nothing else moves on the screen. You just see the book, but the highlighted words on the story page, time with the words as the narrator says it. Was that a very difficult technical challenge?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I bet.
Yeah, you do have to go through individual words and understand this is when it starts and stops.
So you almost do it manually, do you?
It is quickened by transcription tools that sort of give you those timestamps, but they're often wrong or sort of conjoin words or change things, and one missed timestamp leads to a cascading effect through the whole book. So you do have to go along and make sure every single one works. So the longer books do take a little bit.
Callum has great attention to detail.
He sure does. I've never seen it out of whack once. It's really impressive. Is there any evidence or research to sort of back up that kids listening to books with the highlighted words or reading it in that format, it does help their literacy when they're reading?
Well, it's all about exposure to language in terms of building a strong vocabulary. So I was just reading the other day about the fact that there's a lot of children in Australia under the age of 2, and that's not really our age because we don't want kids on devices under the age of 2, but they are not actually read to at home. And
their parents don't read stories to them?
No.
Wow. Is that right?
I know, it's sort of mind-blowing that actually happens, but parents are working, parents are busy, they don't have time. And, for example, I've got 2 kids that are under 2 at the moment, and I don't let them go on Joey. But what I do, and we don't even have a TV, but we have this funny screen thing, and I can put Joey books on that and use Joey books as an audiobook tool with those kids while they're playing.
Cool.
And then if they want, they can look at the pictures every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting exposure to the rich vocabulary.
Yeah. I think the goal with the tracking and all those types of tools is, again, what would a parent do? So being able to point out the words you're reading, it is just another tool for a kid to engage with a book. And it does keep your attention. Like even when I'm sort of going through and watching these books, I sort of track the words myself because it is where the motion and activity is happening. So you sort of associate that sound, that word.
Yeah. All of these funny squiggles on the page correlate with the words.
There is
that
some
my parents
correlation
saying.
happening there. And I think my goal is eventually to do other things like taking up the sort of images within the book to get an understanding, hey, that image is actually associated with a word as well. So bringing them all together. So how do you interact with this book in the best possible way and giving an open experience in that way?
Yeah. We're wanting to create an experience with Joey books that the best teachers would be giving their students in their classroom.
Yep.
And we are also working with school teachers, pre-primary, kindy, daycare teachers, to get their feedback at the moment, mostly, as to how they'd like to use it in their classrooms. And for them, it's not on a device, it's on an interactive whiteboard. Okay. It's on a smart board.
Nice.
And the kids do love it. We've gone in and presented in schools and they get so much joy out of coming and tapping on different things. They love it.
Yeah, nice. It seems like potentially, I don't know, where a teacher would just park their class in front of the screen and let them read a book while the teacher goes and does some class prep or something like that. Would that be the way that they use it in the classroom?
To be honest, teachers have such a hard job. It's such a wonderful job, but it's challenging. And when you're reading books and teaching all day, you actually lose your voice. You really, and just giving teachers 10 minutes a day where they don't have to do all the voices in a book in a year 1 classroom, it's relief for them.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we're not in any classrooms yet, but we sort of see the idea of like so many aspects that we could help with, especially like this is going to be a curated collection of books that sort of, you can go to Joey and find a great book for that moment in time that's this duration that it can take up the attention of your kids. Like I've talked to teachers before who go onto YouTube and look for books, and you sort of are in the public domain at that stage. You can find anything. You can find someone just sitting there reading it, or you can find something that's completely inappropriate. So controlling that sort of whole experience for a teacher, I'm quite excited about that, as well as being able to give it to an individual kid sort of during nap time or whenever who aren't sleeping. I think that's sort of where we're sort of looking at as well.
And librarians as well, so having it in school libraries if a school's lucky enough to have a school library. And even if they do have a school library, they might not have a school librarian. So giving them access to Joey books to then project and read the children's stories would be fantastic. So we're working all of that in the background too.
What's been the trickiest thing you've had to deal with building and growing Joey books to date?
I think making mistakes.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I've done a lot of learning with the technical side, as well as not having anyone to bounce ideas off and say, is this the best way of doing things? You sort of run down a route technically that in hindsight you wasted a lot of your time on.
Yeah. Any examples you can share?
Last week I went down, I finally got around to trying, there's a AI tool with a lot of hype around it called Cursor.
Oh, yeah.
That is the
Vibe coding?
Yeah, which is the vibe coding type style. And I sort of wanted to give it a go because why not? And I was very impressed initially with the capability and quite excited. And I think like everyone should give it a go and understand sort of where it's coming from. Because I definitely came from the aspect of using sort of ChatGPT. Hey, how does this sort of component work? How can I improve some things? What are some ideas? to just being able to ask open-ended question and it sees the context of what you're working within. And that was what it was really cool initially. And I ran with it, and it does make a lot of, at the moment, sort of mistakes and leaves a lot of fragments and like sort of creates one thing that doesn't get used and then sort of moves on to the next thing. Maybe that was just me learning it, but I found it not as, it's like if you want a really good writer, I wouldn't say it's sort of a sub-level like author.
Got it. I've seen some memes where it's like, this is what, vibe coding builds, and it's like super intricate rocket, with all the components and things hanging off it. And then this is what a really good programmer can do. And it's a beautiful, sleek, simplified, piece of equipment, which, a piece of software can't quite create yet.
Yeah, it was like a jigsaw puzzle piece that just...
But in the context of that small little module or whatever that you were building, it was okay. But in the whole scheme of the application, it was clunky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
As well as the fact that... Like I'm still using it now. I still think it's quite a good tool to ask it just individual questions.
Yep.
To require sort of a larger context of what you're working within.
Yep.
Because it is good at sort of tokenizing things and understanding where the question is going. So it is good for that.
Cool. I'm glad we got to talk about vibe coding in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
We're a marketing agency that works with tech, software products, and it's something, and teams, and it's something we hear a lot about. But it's great to hear from the dev side how you view these tools at the moment.
Yeah, they're very powerful, and I think that, it is scary where they're going to end up. But at the moment, I don't think they're quite there yet.
On the flip side, what's been the sort of most joyous moment of the eureka moment that you've had through this process of building Joey books?
Just seeing users love it. Kids use it, getting photos from different people that are using it with their kids. That's kind of the best part.
I love new books.
Yeah,
new books.
Get a load of new
I
booking.
think because I engage with it probably more than anyone else at the moment. I've got a deep understanding of every single book. And so especially like when we get on a new book, so the last books we got on were the Faraway Tree books. It was good to have a refresher and exciting and new sort of understanding these new stories that everyone knows. And they're beautifully illustrated. So I got to see that as well.
I feel you. I love it when my kids get a new book too, because I've read all the other ones 20 times, over, and it's nice to have some variety, and you get to do something different as well. Yeah, it's cool. So what could possibly be next? You've sort of alluded to some of the things that you're thinking about, but in 2 to 3 years' time, when we're sitting here again and we're talking about how successful Joey Books has been, what does that look like for you guys?
Well, I hope that it's in most homes in Australia and most schools in Australia within the next 2 to 3 years, I'd say. How about you, Cal?
Yeah, I hope my goal is to take a kid from not being able to understand how to read and basically take them the whole way, the journey, and give them the books that they can be like, that was my favourite book growing up. And I found that through Joey. So that is my goal in the future, as well as give them activities that you don't feel like the need to, like you can introduce them to activities that drive future good habits, if that makes sense. Like an understanding of like, hey, like I can ask you this question to build deeper thought. And I think that is a possibility within the next 2 years to be, hey, we can take you from zero to hero and basically...
Yeah, we believe reading is everything. Because if you can read, you have access to all the information in the world and you can escape your current situation no matter how bad it is. So we want to make sure that every child, no matter where they're at in Australia, can access high-quality books and fall in love with reading. That's our ultimate goal.
That's a lovely soundbite right there. That's beautiful. How good. Well said. One of the 5 Ps in marketing is price. We're a marketing podcast, if you didn't know. And I just wanted to ask how you think about price and how you price a product like this, because that can often be one of the barriers, especially when you've got all these free ad-supported apps on the App Store, and then what you guys do, which I think is very fair and extremely good value. But how did you guys think about that when you were building Joey Books?
Well, I initially approached it as like, we're a small company, we can price this cheaply because we don't have much overhead. And I think that was a bit of a naive approach where I was not understanding that actually bigger companies can price their products cheaper.
So it's pretty common, yeah.
Yeah, as a small company, it's actually better to probably price it a bit more than you think, because in the end of the day, you can have a smaller market of people who like agree with the story, agree with the mission, and hopefully are willing to support you in that. So that's sort of where I came to our pricing model.
Yeah, we're still learning. We probably don't have it right. We're very much still learning.
No, I think you're definitely directionally correct. I mean, I think we paid about $100 for a 12-month subscription to Joey Books. I thought that was super good value, because think about buying one book is usually $15 to $20, and we get access to dozens and dozens of awesome books, and they're better than a real book, really, because they've got the narration and everything, the interaction to it. So
and hopefully it makes you buy the books that you enjoy.
Yeah, that is our goal. I forgot to say that really what we'd love parents to be doing that can afford it is to be going out and then buying their favourite books from Joey, because that's then supporting our publishers. And I've done that myself. My kids this morning I was reading Sausage Went for a Walk about 5 times to my 1-year-old, which is one of the books from Joey Books. And because when you go on to Joey, the first thing it says is, "Yay, Joey." My 1-year-old goes, "Yay," before we read any book from Joey.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's one big piece of advice you'd have to founders of early stage apps or startups who are still figuring out where to start?
Well, you're just in the same boat as we are. No, that everything, make sure that you're really passionate about what you're doing. And I think Callum and I are equally passionate about learning, reading and education. And if we weren't, we wouldn't be here, because we care about what we do. We love what we're doing. And I think that's really important. If you're in it for the money, I'd probably say no, don't do it, because it's going to take a long time to make money. Everything takes longer than you think. What do you think, Cal?
Yeah, I think give it a go. In terms of like vibe coding is definitely a way that I think has reduced the barriers to entry to any software tech product. Like, it is very impressive what it can do, especially as someone like, I come from a technical background. I see the nitty points. I can pick out, hey, this is probably not good for me to be using. But someone coming along and being like, hey, I just want to create like a demo product. And then, is this feasible? Is this something I want to engage with? Do I enjoy working in this sort of ecosystem? You're working on a computer a lot. Like, is this one-on-one engagement with the computer and understanding what I want to be doing, especially for a tech product? Like, one of the things, like, I come from that background, and one of the things I really enjoy is the fact that this is a very human product. Like, you're talking to people in the end of the day, these are your customers. And if you don't understand that human element, you're not going to get it right. So there is a big part of that that's different than building some sort of technical product that just needs to be technical and achieve the results that you want to achieve, which is different than what I used to do.
Yeah, there's always like a real tendency for early stage founders to want to. I'm so glad you used MVP, minimum viable product, earlier, to build the product in a vacuum with all the bells and whistles and make it absolutely perfect before they even show their first customer.
It's what you want to do.
Of course, yeah.
It is what you want to do by your very nature.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? Yeah.
But the reality is nothing's ever going to be perfect, because we've now got a product that's great, but we're like, oh, we just see all the flaws with it. And the next version will be the same. It's just going to constantly get better.
100%. Yeah, you've got the such a healthy attitude about it. Well done, guys. It's so good. Quick little show and tell time. Something we ask all our guests on Weird Growth is about their favourite tool or app or product that they use in their lives every day. It might not be do anything to do with education or something completely different, but what's the thing that you couldn't live without?
You're giving that one to me, crikey. That's so hard. I try to avoid being online as much as possible.
Believe it or not, one of the most, while you think about it, one of the most common answers for people on this show is a notebook. It's the old school lo-fi, just taking a to-do list.
In fact, that sort of gives me the idea.
Yeah.
I try to go to bed just reading every night, an actual physical book.
Yep.
And without my phone in my room, and just going to bed reading a book. And at the moment, my big thing is Australian history books. So reading stories about Australia's, great people that did great things in our country, and it's such a great way to go to sleep. Because sometimes they're very hard going and you fall asleep, but no matter what, you just do something different that's offline before bed. So reading before bed's probably a really basic one that most people do, but
yeah, I love reading as well, and especially before bed, but I can barely last 15 minutes. It's like a sleeping pill for me. Doesn't matter how exciting what I'm reading is. It works a treat.
Yeah, so that would be mine.
Great one, Dori.
Pretty basic.
No, it's great. I grew up listening to Stephen Fry, and I still listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yep.
So I like, it is fascinating talking to people, how many people still engage with books. Like, it's not such a central part of like the social discussion, but it's such a big part of everyone's lives. So I think me, it's audiobooks.
Yep. What's your platform of choice for audiobooks?
Audible.
Yeah. They do it really well.
They do it really well.
The subscription.
They do.
But
take a lot.
Spotify is now very good because most of those books are now available on Spotify. So I Spotify a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah, I saw that increasing my subscription fee. I wasn't very happy about that one.
Because I live between Perth and a sheep farm, which is a 4-hour drive. So I'm always listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, it's perfect for in the car, isn't it?
Yeah. It is great to multitask, do with something else. I do find it quite meditative because in the end of the day, like, they're great books. So,
Yep. Tori, just as a bit of a tangent, you mentioned great Australians who have, changed the direction of the country for the better, and, a lot of them are, historical figures now, and it's hard to think of too many that are around these days. Your granddad is an example of someone like that who, really set up the direction of Western Australia and the amazing, resources sector and prosperity that we have in this state. What do you think? Why do you think there aren't as many people like that around anymore? And what is it that's stopping people from being, visionary people who just go out and get things done?
I think we have it pretty good.
We do.
And when you have it pretty good, you don't necessarily want to take a risk. Whereas our grandfather came from nothing. His dad survived World War I. His mum died after his sister had a terrible birth. And he really didn't have much. And he dropped out of school, then went back to school, kind of talked his way into engineering at UWA through playing rugby. Did really well at engineering, and then went on to build the Narrows Bridge, do a lot of different projects throughout Western Australia and Indonesia in engineering, civil engineering. But he had nothing to lose. Yeah. And he just went for it. But he was also so positive and so enthusiastic and just loved what he did. And he definitely didn't do it for the money. He did it because he loved what he did. And you'd see his light because he lived near us, and he'd see his light on at 4 a.m. in the morning every day. And he would be reading every single paper and magazine from cover to cover, having his grapefruit and muesli with extra sultanas every morning. And, he was just a workaholic, and he was a young guy with nothing to lose that just went for it. I think a lot of us have a lot to lose because we own, if you're lucky, you own your own apartment, you're paying off your own apartment, your own house. It's hard to think big, but it's easier than ever at the same time because the barriers to entry are so low. So you're not going to maybe build a bridge, but you look at Melanie Perkins and Cliff from WA that have built Canva.
Yep. Just valued at $65 billion.
I mean, it's the most wonderful story, and they're two hardworking West Australians that had this incredible vision that didn't give up on that incredible vision. And we use Canva every day.
Yep.
I use Canva in both my businesses every day. It has completely changed the world for the better. And, how wonderful that you can do that. So it is still happening in Western Australia.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there are probably more opportunities than there have ever been, or it's been lower barriers to entry than it's ever been, but not as many people give it a crack. Maybe we just don't value those opportunities as much as we used to.
Are you speaking from a Western Australian perspective or from a...
Well, probably just a general young people's perspective. I just don't feel like there's that level of ambition. and sort of vision for what is possible anymore. Maybe there are with some individuals, but it just doesn't seem to be as prevalent.
Yeah, I see a lot of young people, and I think that there is still a lot of ambition out there and a lot of, hard work out there. But life is also quite good right now.
But it's also quite tough. I think I see a lot of my friends who are at that stage where you sort of look at them and they're like, you could really start something and do something. And they're at the stage where they're looking to buy a house, they're saving up. It's quite a financially difficult time for them. So I completely understand why people aren't sort of taking that risk or taking that jump, because sort of like there is no sort of like if it doesn't work out, you're in a precarious situation, really.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes I feel like we're really stupid doing Joey books. Like I think a year or two ago I was saying to Callum, what are we doing? And he goes, well, look at all these small business owners that own all these shops and they're paying $100,000 in rent. They've got all this stock. They're risking things.
Sure.
So I think Australia is a country that is filled with these incredible entrepreneurs and innovators that are on every single street.
Yeah, right.
And that's what makes Australia tick. And I think probably the most important part is how can we as a country make it easier for small businesses to thrive?
Absolutely.
Because it's not very easy for small businesses to thrive, and every small business owner will tell you the same thing. Oh my gosh, I learnt this, I learnt that. I wish I'd known this when I started about tax and GST and factoring it into my pricing. Because you learn as you go when you're ready to hear that information.
So true.
Super.
Yep. It's
superannuation, paying superannuation.
Yeah. No, it's so, like this. Being a business owner is about being committed to lifelong learning and learning as quickly and the right things as possible.
And someone might tell you something, but you're not ready to hear it.
Yeah, or it doesn't fit with your context.
Correct.
At that time.
So you can only take on a certain amount of information at a time.
Yep. Well said. Well, guys, final plug of Joey Books. If someone's interested in finding out more, or what should they do if they wanted to check out Joey Books?
Well, they should download it from the App Store today. It's Joey Books, or it's also on Android, Joey Books.
Yep.
Download it, or you can follow our Instagram, which is not regularly posted on, but it will be once we get our act together. We're more focused on the product side of things.
Happens to have some great Bookweek content on there at the moment.
Yeah. Bookweek. So it's been a fun week, an important week.
Yep.
To highlight celebrating reading and the importance of reading. So yeah,
I didn't realise that was an Australian thing as well. Bookweek, it sort of was started in the 40s or something by like an Australian book organisation or literacy organisation as a way to get kids.
Yeah, I'm
involved.
not 100% sure, but it certainly is something that families love.
It's a tradition now.
And
it's so good. Dressing up as your
love.
favourite character that comes to life. Like I remember dressing up as Harry Potter when I was little. I brought up Harry Potter way too much.
Someone's a fan.
But like putting on the scar, having a wand, the cape.
And there's still so many Harry Potters.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's unforgettable. So it's great fun for kids. It's better than Halloween.
Getting the little zigzag on the
Australia's
forehead.
Halloween in a way.
Yeah, true.
For kids, like I probably dressed up more for Book Week or Easter than for Halloween.
It's such good fun. Yep. Beautiful, guys. Look, it's been an awesome chat. Really appreciate you coming on Weird Growth and having a chat about all the amazing things that you've built with Joey Books. Congratulations. I know it's early days and I'm so excited to see what comes next for you both. Thank you for your time and being on Weird Growth.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks for your time.
And thank you all for listening to Weird Growth. Please don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to this on a podcast, we're also on YouTube. There's two lovely camera angles of the guests and myself on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed this chat, please do leave us a review and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Cam Sinclair. This has been Weird Growth. Bye-bye.